In this series we'll build each kit from the Fantasy Village set by Battlesystems, discussing any construction pitfalls and build mistakes as well as kit specific build tips and possible conversions. Once everything is built, we'll test a variety of methods to colour the edges of the terrain and then finally conclude with an in-depth overall review video of the whole fantasy terrain set. Follow along and consider subscribing if that sounds like something you don't want to miss. Have a closer look at the townhouse building here. So I popped out this piece, pop another bit out. Yeah, that's quite therapeutic, that. I'm not quite sure if I'll feel the same after doing hundreds of pieces, but we're going to build each house one at a time. So the format's going to be that I'm going to myself watch the Battlesystems instructional video for a building. We're going to get the sheets for each building out. We're going to have a look at them, see what we think of the print quality. What I see so far is really good, but we'll have a look at each building, point out any interesting features, and then I will build the buildings. I'll point out any things that you might want to look out for or be particularly wary of when you're building these that might not be mentioned in the Battlesystems video. Got to remember the guys on the Battlesystems video, they've lived and breathed these sets, they've built them up loads of times. I'm going to be doing this as a newbie to these pieces of terrain. I'm going to be using the brown clips, so I think they're going to look a lot better on the village terrain. But as we go along, maybe we'll try some of the grey clips and just sort of see what the difference looks like in real life. So we'll build a house, or whatever piece of terrain it is that we're doing at the time. Once it's built, we'll have a look around it, recap if there's anything that needs to be considered while you're building yours, and then yeah, just give a general review of what we think of that item. Straight away, one of the things I'm thinking is print quality, great. Solid in terms of shouldn't be a problem building them. There's a lot of pieces. I think they're going to be fine for a game or two, definitely. Key questions really I think are going to be how well they store. So do you really want to take them apart after every couple of games? I think the answer to that probably is going to be no. And how long do they last? So I've got a Space Crusade set that's built of a gaming board, got miniatures, and then there are some cardboard pieces to it. That set's like 25 years old now, or whatever it is. And they've got a little bit dog-eared, but they still work. So I think when I'm doing a final review, I will be doing it by keeping in mind that nothing lasts forever when it comes to miniature gaming. You know, your models might get dropped, they might break. How long do we keep our armies for? Do you build up an army, paint it up and keep it for forever? You know, let's be realistic and be honest about it. We do tend to sort of sell things on. We build new armies, stuff gets put in cases, we might not play with it for 5-10 years. So when I do come to do a final review of what I think about this set in terms of the long-term use, it will be with a mindset of, you know, if we get a decent amount of games out of it and they look pretty good on the tabletop, even if they start to get a little bit damaged, I won't be too critical of that. So starting with the townhouse, on the main sheet I just popped out the wall pieces here off both sheets, and just be careful with the beams at the side here. Don't pop them out really hard, really quickly. Just be careful popping those out. Straight away, I've only popped out these few things and there's loads of paper dust all over the table here, so just something to be aware of. I'm doing this on a felt cloth, whereas probably better if it was just done on the tabletop. Okay, so the smaller pieces are for the bottom of the building. Battlesystems recommend that if there's beams involved, you start with putting the clips on those pieces. Just show you quickly the difference with the grey and the brown clips. Got the grey clip, the brown clip. I think the brown clip blends in a lot better, so I'm glad I bought those, but you know, that is a first impression. Let's build a few of these up first. Yeah, just need to be a bit wary actually. So you've got outside, obviously it's got vines on it, inside hasn't. Just keep that in mind when you're building them up. Oh yeah, these doors open, so have the windows open and outwards a tiny bit, just pop them out a little bit. Doors open inwards, I mean open them outwards if you like, I suppose. First impressions, yeah, nice and easy, they go together fine. Yeah, those brown clips look pretty good. Well, you know, it'd be better if they weren't on there because buildings don't have big clips on them, but the idea is that once these are all on the tabletop, you're looking at the whole village set, your brain doesn't really register the clips anymore. It knows that these are buildings and that's what you see. Well, that's the theory with these anyway. Oh, hello. Now, I need to recheck this. I'm not sure if those 3 pieces should go on the bottom or the top. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a helper on the table. Yes, I wasn't sure whether or not the 3 nooks here made a difference. So I'm going on the basis that we line these beams up, so we'll put those together. Straight away I'm noticing here, you need to be careful when you're putting the clips on, so you start to damage the printed area there a little bit. So that's kind of my fault. There's a cat on the table getting in the way. So probably recommend doing these without a cat on the table. Okay, I think it's going to take a little while to get used to how to do these, so I've put some of these pieces on upside down to start with. Now I'm looking at the outside, it was obvious that they didn't go around that way, but I think when you're building them, a bit like, if you're doing a Lego kit or something, could quite easily end up going around building all this, realising you've put the wrong pieces in somewhere. So we also need this floor piece, so we'll pop that out. Goes on there. Do need to crack open the additional sets of brown clips that I bought. I was just wondering then whether I can get away with using some grey clips, but they will be showing on the outside, so I'll use the brown ones. Okay, yeah, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Apparently that should just sit in. Okay, and it does. That actually sits in quite nice there. A little bit of wobble, but pretty sturdy. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Pop out the apexes here. 1, 2. Does that mean that's meant to come out? Yeah, I guess that comes out. Little portholes. Yeah, take those out. Yeah, I guess you could probably keep those in. Oh well, they're out now. So some straight clips on these. They recommend that you have the windows as the front and the rear of the building, so we'll go with that. Put that on carefully. Okay, you see that doesn't quite line up there, but that's because the clip's not on straight, so just pull that over. That's the main part of the building. And it just needs to do the roof next, so we're going to want the roof pieces. Yeah, I would just say just be careful popping them out. Kind of, it's a little bit more care needed than just popping out round tokens on a board game. Pop this chimney piece out as well. Missed that one. So yeah, there's a few bits where you need to go back in maybe with a knife. See here? So I'll cut that out, and then we'll knock out one of these chimney slots. Take those out. Now I'm going to follow the recommendation on the video, which is to very carefully bend it on these lines just to get a slight curve in the roof. So we only need to bend it enough to get this curve. Just as an aside, that is some quite nice tooling on that, just to go through and cut a small amount. Okay, so let's clip these in. So these are meant to be really tight. Yep, oh, did you hear that? They are tight. Yeah, that's cool. Oops. Ah, so yeah, there we go. So you do need to be careful with this. I was pushing that in there while holding this piece and got a slight twist on that, and I just stopped in time, but that could have bent that right off. So just be careful to make sure when you're pushing something in, you're you're just aware of what force you're pushing back the other way. Oh yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Just bend that out a tiny little bit more so that it fits, drops on nicely onto the roof. Top piece goes on next. So they recommend holding under there, which makes sense. It kind of fits with what I was just saying about making sure you've got the force going back the other way in the right position. So for example, don't grab a hold of that bit, I'd imagine. Hear that creaking? That's pretty tight, those pieces. Nice. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Chimney next. So they're going to fold in on... Yeah, there we go. That folds around like that. Ah, okay, so straight away, there we go. I can see that's not quite right. That should be folding just there. Instead it's folded here. And that's not right. You can see that the half cut through here needs a little bit of additional cutting to make sure that it folds along that line and doesn't, as it has done here, started lifting off. That's not good. So push my nail into where it should be folding and pinch down on here so we don't get any more of that printed layer peeling up. Just gonna have to be really careful with those kind of things. Yeah, that's frustrating. That's slight damage there, so that's fine. It just needs a bit of an additional cut. So maybe the tool didn't go in there enough. Maybe it sort of opens that through sort of a quarter or something rather than half. Okay, that's all right now, but yeah, probably might need to glue that. You can see the sort of printed part is come away from the grey board in the middle a little bit. That's me being a bit ham-fisted and not careful, but also that it obviously hadn't cut through quite enough when it was tooled. Anyway, that's not the end of the world. We will need to glue that though, I think, so I'll put a bit of glue in that later. Push the chimney through here. Not bad. Yeah, that's disappointing, that piece there. I can see as I'm looking at it from above, and maybe the tool didn't cut through quite well enough, or maybe I just need to be more careful when taking them apart, so definitely would watch out for that. I don't mean just this chimney piece, you know, you might have areas on your set that maybe the tooling hasn't quite cut through enough on different pieces. Or maybe it has cut through enough and I just need to be a bit more careful, but you're going to want to be careful because, you know, I don't want these looking ratty as soon as we started them. That roof doesn't, I should have bent that a little bit more actually before I put the chimney on. So yeah, I would recommend definitely following what they say, which is to make sure that does fit on perfectly. Okay, there we go. Actually, that's quite a cool little mini house on its own without the additional layer, but it does look better with the additional layers. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that. That's kind of the style I always wanted to make when I was trying to scratch build terrain, that kind of British Tudor type of building. Small story here, bigger story, maybe even a bigger story above that. There's a town near me called Tewkesbury, which has a lot of houses like this. Well, not exactly like this, but Tudor houses, and yeah, they're fantastic looking kind of, they're not exactly medieval, but kind of like a medieval-y type village, the kind of thing that you'd imagine is like a medieval townhouse. Overall, my first impressions, easy to build. I made a couple of mistakes, but that was me just being a bit silly with what I was doing. Do just need to be a bit careful on some of the smaller pieces. Just going to pop out the floor here. Last thing to do now. Apparently that should just sort of pop on the inside there. Clearly I've done something wrong because that's not sticking completely on the inside. Why is that not clipping in? So that has to sit like that because this is in the way otherwise. So those are correct, which means those are correct. Okay, so pretty sure I have done that right. It's not quite sitting in perfectly, so I think we'll just leave that out for now. I mean, actually, that is sitting in there now. No, it's not. And maybe as we build more of these models, it'll become clear why that isn't quite working. Not that worried about that for the moment. Let's just have a quick look at the final model. Yeah, I really like that. Really nice. So it's on the table, you're moving things around. Yeah, that's not gonna fall apart as you're knocking it about. Depending on what game you're playing, take the roof off nice and easily, get inside. I'll probably be playing, using a couple of these Kings of War, maybe Frostgrave in particular. Let's just see how tough it is, see if you can knock it over. So yeah, overall, pretty easy to follow the guide. So I reckon that would have taken about 5 to 10 minutes following the video. It is actually quite straightforward. There are some bits you definitely got to be careful on though. We don't want to, we don't want these to start off being a little bit broken or a little bit ratty.